and I had not yet slept after leaving Temi in the club. I left 2 hours later. It couldn't be late enough for morning activities, I thought. Not on a Sunday morning. "Do you need some help?" the woman of the pair asked. "So much," I thought, "but nothing you can sort out for me." "I'm okay," I replied instead. "Just cooling off my high." It wasn't truthful, but then I hadn't said drugs. My eyes hadn't felt strained or hot or inflamed, but the cool water was certainly soothing my eyelids. I was telling some version of the truth. It was promising, nice, the way the early sun was filtered by moving water before it reached my eyes. Tiny leaves covering the surface that would slap against the concrete when a barge laboured through the water in the daytime. My long sleeve got covered in moss green. So cooling, the green, the colour. Temi had talked about someone we knew who had rearranged someone else's living room. "You get it. The woman went out to get some beers and came back to all the lamps rearranged, cushions moved about, armchair in a different spot, papers and books on a shelf instead of the table. All in the space of 15 minutes. It was a completely different room." I looked at her in an "and what" way. I said, "And what?" "My friend lost it. She didn't know how to handle it." I had gotten tired, very tired at that moment. "Let's go to the other place," Temi had said. I followed because that's what I do. I followed Temi and let her let me touch her, only to not hear from her for the following 2 weeks. And then we find ourselves in an all-nighter that lasts from Thursday evening until Monday morning if I can handle it. Lately, I couldn't always make it through. Here I was on a Sunday morning, sober, alone, in the river without doing anything, just lying on my back, the water holding me. The joggers were still looking at me. "Really, all okay here? I know it looks weird." I lifted my head and showed them my perfectly sound of mind face. I had issues, like everyone, but nothing that required institutional enforcement. At least, I didn't think so. I waved and laughed. "You wouldn't believe my night or morning. Honestly, I'm just cooling off." "Oh, okay then." They had been spot running through the whole exchange, one foot touching the ground, the other one lifted, arms moving along, held up close to the torso. I was relieved their outfits didn't match. "We'll be back this side in half an hour, if..." "I won't be here, don't worry." I hoped not. That skirt. Mum had waved it around, then draped it over her head, the fabric falling over her shoulders. "Remember when you used to do that? Pretend your hair was moving when it was short?" It was 5:30 a.m. by then. "Mum, I was probably 3 or 4. "Yes," she'd replied. "My skirts were much too long." She was laughing in that over-the-top way that you only recognise when you have a parent with serious bipolar. The shrillness that caught people's attention, but they couldn't quite place. The way it seemed to threaten an unspoken balance. The turned-up too high volume, the eyes with something in them that I could never explain. She pulled the chair close to the table. Inside, I went, uh-oh. 2 years ago, she had climbed the chair, then the kitchen table, had reached for the plant pots she had on the sill under the kitchen window, had picked up the mint and had thrown it against the opposite wall. Then the basil, and the thyme, the heaviest, and the rosemary. I had been at hers because of another club night close to her flat. Not yet with Temi, but with a bunch of friends. A vase with dead flowers had followed. When I'd shouted, "Why?" from the kitchen door, Mum said she was repotting. It was spring. She had gone on to throw many more things that were above hip level until the neighbours below called the police. It wasn't that bad, a little loud, but they were always looking for a reason since the day the husband had helped Mum out of the bathtub naked. She had left the flat door open, and he had come back from the terrace above, where he had his secret smokes, and seen the light on at 2 a.m. Mum had fallen asleep in the bathtub. They had it in for us since then. When the police came, we asked why she had to be sectioned for throwing a couple things.